Hey everybody, Wes from Fundamental Games here for another Fun in 5, bringing you today Paladins of the West Kingdom. This is the only game I have in the West Kingdom line, but they do have a ton of them, and I'm interested in maybe trying another one day because I have enjoyed this one so far. So what do I like about Paladins of the West Kingdom? Well, the first one is I'm always a sucker for fantasy themes, but sometimes fantasy themes are very take that or player versus player. This one is a worker placement game where you really are building and developing your board without any violent attacks against one another or trying to sabotage one another. There are times where you may steal spaces from one another, but it's definitely a unique fantasy theme where you're recruiting villagers or trying to convince people to join your side, or you're trying to bring aboard different warriors, or you're trying to defeat them to acquire points. It's really neat how it all works together in a fantasy theme that's not traditional fantasy. I just love that old West Kingdom atmosphere that it brings. So that's the first thing I found fun about the game, is just that unique presentation of a fantasy theme, and the artwork really does wonders for the game. It's a very cool art style that I believe it's by the Miko, if I'm correct there. So, all right. Second thing is about developing your board. So if you take a look at the boards here, there are all kinds of different tokens that you start with, whether it's garrisons or little development houses or kind of bishop tokens or these little urns. I don't know what they're all specifically named, but it is really neat how it all comes together. How if you develop certain things, it reduces the cost of other parts of your board. How if you remove these things, you'll earn special benefits on this center track. And how everything has a cost. The more you buy, the more it costs. So the more you develop things, the more certain things cost, while at the same time giving you greater benefits. It all balances really, really well. And every time I've played it, I've found different ways to try to manipulate my board based on what's happening. And with my opponents too, they do have some impact. If they steal the early spaces or the later spaces, I might get frustrated. So I really love the development aspect of the board. The third thing I like is the Paladins themselves. So the game is called Paladins of the West Kingdom because you come equipped with the same set of Paladins for each player. The only thing being that each turn you will take the top 3 cards of the deck, choose one to be your Paladin for the round, one to put on top and one to put on the bottom of the deck. And what happens is that Paladin pretty much helps you identify what you might want to accomplish that turn. It gives you some special perks that you don't otherwise get, so it kind of gears your strategy for that particular turn and possibly the next turn, or knowing what you're not going to be playing with at all, because if you put it to the bottom of the deck, you're probably not going to get that Paladin again. So you can really manipulate your game plan based on these Paladins and the sequence in which you decide to play them. And I think that's a really nice element because it can change how you play each game as well, when you're going to stock up on coins or whatever these are, food, rations, I guess, or if you're going to go for certain elements of the game like attacking or getting walls. So the Paladins really do emphasize what benefit you can have in the game, and I think that's a great thing about it. Fourth one is about the variable goals. So you'll see here on the table we've got different goals that are set out. It might be how many times you've defeated something in combat. It might be how many times you have deployed a garrison. It might be how many times you have tried to get corruption or briberies or whatnot. So it's really neat because each game there's a total of 3 basically early ones, and then there's more of the later ones, and each of these things affects the games in different ways, and I've seen the games really swing if you ignore these. So you could always play the same game every game and win sometimes, but the player that pays attention to these and takes advantage of the points that these are going to offer you will most likely come out on top, at least in my experience. So I really like how those have that impact, and they change every game as well. And the last thing is just the action and worker placement mechanics of this game. It comes with all kinds of colorful meeples that are workers, and each of these workers have different abilities. Like the red might have more impact on fortifying and garrisons, or the green guys might have more impact on developing and hunting. And so when you're recruiting your meeples each turn, it's kind of a combination of a card that you draft and your paladin, and you have to decide how you're going to manipulate those meeples because they can only go on certain spots on the board. You can get these wild meeples, but then you get some stuff that goes along with it. But it's really neat how you have to manipulate your meeple placement on the board, kind of take advantage of the developments, maybe to spend less meeples to do things, and and all of this trying to accrue influence and control on different aspects of your victory track. This game has so much to it that it's impossible to describe the whole game in this very short video. But what I can tell you is that all the things I've talked about and more attribute to the fun of the game. It really is a true delight to figure out the intricacies of the worker placement and the special tokens and the cards and the battle and the goals and the rations and the coins. It's just too much to explain, but I can tell you that it is a lot of fun once you figure it out. So hopefully you get a chance to try this or some of the other West Kingdom games sometimes. I haven't yet tried the solo mode, so that's my next goal, is to see, is the solo mode as fun as the regular mode. But thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day.